Okay, physics students. Today what we're going to do is to look at this app. Let me back up real quick. When you click the link that I gave you, this is where it's going to take you. And you can download the app, and it may play on your computer, it may not play on your computer. It just depends. But you shouldn't really need to. If you just click on the actual play button, you should get to this screen right here. And when you get in there, you'll see you only have a few options. So there's several menus on the top, on the right, and the left. And then also you have options down here on the bottom. And these options will expand and decrease depending on what you set up here. For manual, you can just click and grab this, and you can make your waves like this. And for our purposes, for the most part, when we use this app, we're going to be using this setting, no end, and that allows me to make a pulse and send it down, and then it just never comes back. That's the one you're going to use most of the time. Now you can manually make waves. You can have an oscillator. So then you'll see new menus have opened up here for the amplitude and the frequency. Or we can also send pulses. And to do that, you just click the button here, and then it will send a pulse down. Now at the bottom, you can change the size of the amplitude. So this will make larger pulses. You can change the width of the pulse. So I can make a very wide pulse, or I can make a very narrow pulse. You can use oscillate for the most part because we want to produce those periodic waves, those waves that have a frequency, they have period, there's a certain wavelength to them. You have other menus that you can mess with, which is the damping. If you put a lot of damping, you'll see that the wave kind of fizzles out really quickly. Or we can put no damping, and then you'll see the wave doesn't change at all. You can change the tension. You can go to medium tension, or you can go to very low tension, and you'll see that it definitely has an effect on the wave. It changes the speed of the wave, it changes the frequency of the wave, the wavelength is also changing. I'm going to set it back to high, and I'm going to pause things for just a moment. Okay, so at this point, if I were trying to make any measurements from this thing, I would want to use these options down here. I can bring up rulers, and those rulers can be moved. I can grab them and pull them wherever I want to. Okay, and then I can also bring up a timer. Now one thing, if you notice, when I click start on the timer, it doesn't start. And the reason for that is because the simulation is paused. So let's say that I was following this hill, right? There's a crest right here. And I want to follow, and I want to know how fast was this guy moving. Well, what I would do is put my zero for my ruler on the top of the hill. I'm not aiming for a particular color of dot. There's nothing special about the green dots. It's just a way of making it easier for you to see the waves more clearly. But there's nothing special about them in particular. I think every 10th dot or so is green. So now I want to follow this hill. Okay, I've already started my timer, and now I'm going to hit play, but I'm going to put it on slow motion first. Okay, this is going to make it a little easier for me to hit the start and stop button. I can hit the start button, watch that hill, and stop that hill. Okay, so it looks like I stopped that hill at around 5.2 or so. So now if I wanted to know what was the speed of that wave, I would take the 5.2 and I would divide it by the time, which was 0.82 seconds. Okay, now besides being able to play like that, I can also do it one step at a time. So when I click this button, you'll see that it moves one step at a time. You'll see the timer's moving also. As the wave moves, I'm going to move it all the way over until it gets to 6. I might have gone a little bit too far. That's probably a little bit more than 6. And so to find the velocity or the speed of this, I would just take 6 centimeters and I would divide it by 0.96 seconds, and then I would have the speed. Those are pretty much everything that you'll use. You may find it helpful to put a reference line because you know what you're actually measuring to is the middle of the dot. That's sometimes a little bit difficult to see where exactly the middle of the dot is. But I'm going to measure the amplitude right now for this wave. I'm going to put this guy on the 0. And it looks like this is about a little over 1.2, and then you can see it down here. It actually tells you what the amplitude is down here on the screen. When you first get into this, please play around with it. Just fidget with everything. Just see what it does. Pay attention to what's happening though. Are the waves getting longer? Are the waves getting shorter? Are there more waves passing per second, or are there less waves passing per second? Just pay attention to what's going on as you play around with it. And then once you feel like you've gotten familiar with the features and the buttons, you can reset the thing. It'll take it back, and then you can go and set the menus the way that it tells you. It gives you specifically tells you how to set all of these menus when you're actually going through the lab. And then you're just going to answer all the questions on a separate sheet of notebook paper, and you're going to send those to me through an email. Everything that you add, everything that you do is just going to improve your grade. Nothing can make your grade worse. Things can only make your grade better. But please do a good job with it. I am considering the quality of the work in terms of how much I'm going to improve your grade. It's a great app. It's really going to help you to visualize waves well. lets you see things that we just would have a hard time doing, even if we were in class and I have the materials. It would be hard for me to show you everything that this app can do. So make the best of it.